Americans bought 16 million new cars in 2025, and yet, these cars struggle to find a home. Some of these 17 car models have been sitting on dealer lots for over a year. That's what happens when cars are overpriced, underpowered, or too electrified. Yes, I'm talking about the Dodge Charger. But that comes later in the video. First, let's look at an EV so expensive that even dealers have stopped trying to sell it. Number 17. Polestar 3. The Polestar 3 is a premium EV with all the makings of a car ready to take on the Tesla Model Y. It offers practical tech, a plethora of driver assistance features, and decent range. Yet, in some parts of the country, the Polestar 3 has a jaw-dropping market supply of over 2,000 days. When this car first hit the market, it was a big hit. People loved the clean Scandinavian design, its safety features, and its crisp handling. However, the pricing is hard to defend. The average selling price of roughly $67,000 is $17,000 more than the Model Y. It also has a higher starting price than other premium EVs like the BMW iX3 and the Cadillac Optiq. Reliability issues have persisted, but the real problem lies with the dealership network. Buyers complain about poor customer service and the inability to buy the car even when it's available. Areas with better customer service have seen faster sales. This at least gives the Polestar 3 an excuse, unlike the next SUV. Number 16. Jeep Gladiator. Nobody knows what the Jeep Gladiator is. Is it a truck? Is it an SUV? The real answer is a combination that no one asked for, and that's not even its worst quality. In the wild, the Gladiator doesn't know the meaning of rough terrain. It cruises over boulders and wades through 31 inches of water like they're nothing. But as soon as that truck reaches the pavement, it loses all composure. Consumer Reports labeled the handling as clumsy, but that's putting it mildly. Drivers say it feels like you're fighting the steering wheel, especially at high speeds. That's also when you realize how noisy the truck is. This makes this truck SUV entirely useless in the real world. And then there's the $42,000 price tag. Nobody in their right mind is picking the Gladiator over a Ford Ranger or the Toyota Tacoma. That is why the Gladiator has a 196-day supply nationwide. But if you think this car is expensive, wait until you see the next one. Number 15. Mercedes-Benz SL. Despite years of declining sales, the Mercedes-Benz SL has refused to die. The 2025 model year has 199 days of inventory, with 539 units seeking a new home. Yet, somehow, Mercedes doesn't seem concerned. For starters, it is still selling faster than a few of its European rivals, which we'll see later. But most importantly, SL customers are loyal, and the 2025 refresh will be sure to please. The new SLs have been made under the AMG badge, making them the sportiest version in years. You get plenty of power, impressive tech, and a riveting driving experience. There is now also a hybrid version. But then there's the elephant in the room: money. The SL costs $163,000 on average, which is in Porsche 911 territory. Not only is the 911 more fun to drive, but it also has better resale value for those who care about such things. One thing Mercedes should be worried about is growing dissatisfaction with its customer service. It wouldn't want its reputation to end up like the next brand. But before we reveal our next disappointment, it's time to like this video and hit the subscribe button. All set? Let's proceed. Number 14. Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Mitsubishi got everything wrong with the Eclipse Cross, except its price. At $29,700, it is one of the most affordable compact SUVs. However, when you look at what you're sacrificing for that price, it becomes impossible to buy. The Eclipse Cross has a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine that offers poor power, acceleration, and fuel economy. It is also noisy, expensive to maintain, and famously unreliable. Higher trims come with adaptive cruise control and blind spot monitoring, but that pushes the car into Honda CR-V territory. Car and Driver rated the Eclipse Cross 6 out of 10, placing it 18th in its ranking of compact SUVs. That explains why this failed experiment has a 200-day inventory. Other better alternatives include the Mazda CX-90, the Volkswagen Tiguan, and the Toyota RAV4. With so many better and more reliable SUVs in its segment, the Eclipse Cross has no shot at surviving. And it's not just the car that could be going extinct. Mitsubishi is one of 17 brands that could go bankrupt this year. Number 13. Nissan Versa. The 2025 Nissan Versa is the last of a dying breed. It's the only car you can still buy brand new for under $20,000. Yet, nobody wants to buy it. At the end of 2025, the Versa had 201 days of inventory, with 14,788 units desperate for buyers. It turns out that Nissan underestimated the intelligence of American buyers. The base model Versa has a 122-horsepower four-cylinder engine paired with a manual transmission. For slightly more, you can get their problematic CVT. In either case, you get sluggish acceleration, which is a nightmare on the highway. The one positive is the excellent fuel economy of 30 to 35 miles per gallon, depending on the trim. Still, for a fraction more, you can get the ever-reliable Toyota Corolla, Subaru Impreza, or Honda Civic. If you want to save money, buy a certified pre-owned version of those cars. The only people who should buy the Versa are people desperate to visit a chiropractor because that ride is rough. If you want an upgrade, up next is a car that you should actually consider. Number 12. Hyundai Sonata. The 2025 Hyundai Sonata is one of the best mid-sized sedans money can buy. This is a comfortable, fuel-sipping, tech-friendly car. And the best part is the price. The 2025 Sonata can be had for as low as $20,300, while the 2026 model starts at $27,450. If you want speed, the N-Line is a turbocharged 2.5-liter spitting 290 ponies. It does 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.4 seconds while delivering 32 miles per gallon on the highway. That is faster than the Accord and the Camry, by the way. Plus, it's a better-looking car. However, the Sonata sits low, which makes it difficult to get in and out, and it's a Hyundai, so long-term reliability can be an issue. Still, this doesn't explain why the Sonata has 201 days of inventory. Well, that's the result of hubris. The Sonata's sales were so strong at launch that dealerships began to stockpile them. Then sales ground to a halt, which makes this the perfect time to snatch up this beauty. Next, let's look at an American muscle that is making loyalists mad. Number 11. Ford Mustang. Ford Mustang sales have been in the mud for the past few years. What was once an affordable sports car is now an expensive laptop on wheels, or at least that's how long-time customers feel. The 2026 Mustang has a 202-day supply as dealers struggle to offload 19,000 models. The new Mustang has a 315-horsepower turbo four-cylinder. But if you want a 5-liter V8, that will get you 480 horsepower. However, that will cost you an extra $10,000. The EcoBoost starts at $34,600, while the Dark Horse clocks in at $90,000. As always, you get tiny rear seats, which are only good for carrying luggage. As for tech, you get a 13.2-inch infotainment screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The car is also integrated with Alexa voice commands and Ford Streaming. Still, all of these haven't prevented buyers from jumping ship to the Mustang Mach-E. It handles 4 passengers, does 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, and delivers up to 320 miles of range. Sales for the Mustang crossover are on the rise. Sadly, the opposite holds for the next SUV. Number 10. Mazda CX-90. It hurts to see a Mazda performing poorly, but that's what happens when you're experimenting. The CX-90 replaced the CX-9 as Mazda seeks to enter the luxury 3-row SUV segment. The result is a car that looks great on paper, but with some major red flags. The first major problem is the ride quality. Most trims come with 21-inch wheels that make the ride stiff. The third row is also cramped, and the controls are difficult to navigate. The biggest problem is with its reliability. Consumer Reports gave the 2025 model year a reliability verdict of just 31. When you're competing against the Kia Telluride and the Toyota Grand Highlander, that simply won't do. The one thing the CX-90 has going for it is the upscale interior. This ride starts at $40,000, but it has the styling of a $60,000 European SUV. However, that isn't enough to sway buyers. The CX-90 spends an average of 206 days on the lot. But speaking of European luxury, here's something that will make Mercedes happy. Number 9. BMW 8 Series. Just like the Mustang, the sporty BMW 8 Series has seen steady sales declines. New deliveries dropped by over 32% at the start of 2025, after already falling 7% in 2024. But unlike the Mustang, BMW has not tried anything new with the 8 Series in years. The last model redesign was in 2019, which is shocking considering its competition. The Porsche Panamera, Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, and the Audi RS7 are just a few of them. And if you want blind spot warning and rear cross traffic alert, you'll have to pay extra. No wonder this car is spending 207 days on dealer lots. In their defense, BMW has done a good job of not compromising driving fun, luxury, or aesthetics. The V8 with 535 horsepower will make you feel alive, but the inline-6 is also swift. With the top down, it carries 4 adults in a comfy leather interior. Still, is it worth buying a car that loses half its value in 3 years? That's even worse depreciation than the next vehicle. Number 8. Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now, we come to our first casualty of 2026. After just 4 years of production, Hyundai is pulling the plug on the Santa Cruz. On paper, the Tucson in the body of a pickup should have been a hit. But then the Ford Maverick happened. Despite being the only 2 competitors in the short bed market, the Maverick has outsold the Santa Cruz by a 6-to-1 margin. Hyundai is going back to the drawing board to make a truck with a longer bed. Similar to the Jeep Gladiator, the 4-foot bed on the Santa Cruz made no sense. The 2.5-liter 4-cylinder on the base model is also a problem for buyers. If you want a tow, you'd have to upgrade to the 281-horsepower Turbo 4. However, the Santa Cruz is already more expensive than the much better and bigger Ford Maverick. As a result, the Hyundai Santa Cruz is sitting on dealer lots for 222 days. And considering that it will be discontinued, depreciation is going to be insane. That brings us to a British classic that could soon be on the chopping block. Number 7. Mini Convertible. Mini's reputation in the US has been so badly damaged that drivers are afraid to touch it. Despite BMW taking over production, the Mini is still seen as unreliable. That is why the Mini Convertible is sitting at 224 days. But if you can get past the negativity, you'll find that it's still hard to justify buying this car. Mini updated the engine in 2025 to a 2-liter Turbo 4 producing 161 horsepower. The John Cooper Works model takes this up to 228 horses. All versions of the Mini Convertible are just as fun to drive as ever, quick, and fuel efficient. The only real problem with the Mini Convertible is that it's not a Mazda MX-5 Miata. The Miata still has a manual option, a beefier base engine, and has proven reliability. The Miata is also cheaper and offers better resale value. Die-hard Mini Cooper fans will still get a kick out of this car. Frankly, everyone else would be better off with a compact SUV, but definitely not the next one. Number 6. Maserati Grecale. Ironically, the Grecale is one of the best cars that Maserati has made in a while. Yet, this luxury SUV has 301 days of inventory. That's roughly 10 months' worth of market supply. Why? Because it is too expensive. The Grecale starts at $86,495. That is miles ahead of the competition. The Genesis G570, Mercedes-Benz GLC, and the BMW X3 are all hovering around $51,000. Even the Porsche Macan starts at $67,000. For that jaw-dropping price, you actually get plenty of luxury features. The inside is classic Maserati, not the Alfa Romeo knockoffs they used in the Levante. Under the hood is a twin-turbo 3-liter V6 pushing 386 horses. You also get air spring suspension and decent safety features as standard. The tech is also pretty impressive. You get a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster and a 12.3-inch infotainment system. Then, there's another 8.8-inch touchscreen right beneath that. But before you get swayed, brace yourself for the depreciation. After 5 years, this car will lose 59% of its value, or roughly $51,000. That's more than what you'd spend on the next failed SUV. Number 5. Buick Envision. With a starting price of $41,000, the Buick Envision is certainly an affordable luxury SUV. However, there's just one problem. It's not luxurious. Inside, you get leather seats and an updated infotainment system for 2025. However, the rest of the car feels plasticky and cheap. It's basically a dressed-up Chevy Equinox, and nobody wants to spend 40 grand on that. Under the hood is more disappointment. The 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder is rated for 228 horsepower. In reality, it doesn't provide the power or driving zest of its competitors. To show you how far behind it is, Car and Driver ranked it 14th in the best compact luxury SUVs. The Envision currently has a market supply of 267 days, but it's worth considering. The cost savings versus European counterparts make up for any deficiencies. And if you can squeeze another $3,000 off, it's definitely worth it. As for the next car, there's no scenario in which it is a good buy. Number 4. Dodge Charger Daytona. Now, we come to the first car on this list that has been sitting on dealer lots for over a year. With a market day supply of 406 days, the new Dodge Charger has been an epic failure. Why? Because nobody asked for an all-electric muscle car. Yes, the Charger Daytona EV is faster than the gas-powered versions. The 670 horsepower Scat Pack trim does 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds. That's slightly ahead of the 3.4 seconds from the 797 horsepower Challenger Hellcat. The new Charger is also more sophisticated. It comes with a wireless phone charger, a 16-inch digital gauge cluster, and a 12.3-inch infotainment screen. The Daytona EV also comes with many driver assistance features, including vulnerable road user detection. And yet, the car is a bust. Stellantis did everything right, apart from making it fun to drive, and they made it ridiculously expensive. The Daytona starts at $61,000 and goes up to $75,000. Dodge has seen the error of their ways and has brought back a gas version for 2026. However, at $51,000, you're still better off with a Mustang. As for the next vehicle, even a gas version won't be able to save this catastrophe. Number 3. Subaru Solterra, 5.4 out of 10. That's what the good folks over at Edmunds rated the Subaru Solterra, and frankly, they're being generous. The 2025 Subaru Solterra, essentially a Toyota BZ4X, had no redeeming qualities. First of all, it's hideous. Subaru has never been known for its exterior styling, but this one takes the prize. The 2025 Solterra also came with just 215 horsepower, 227 miles of range, and slow charging. And for all of these failings, Subaru expected buyers to fork over $39,000. The response was a resounding denial. This pushed the Solterra to a market day supply of 411. Subaru has upgraded every aspect of the car for 2026. The exterior is more defined and SUV-looking. Range is up to between 278 and 288 miles, and the XT trim has 338 horsepower. You can also now hook it up to a supercharger. However, this SUV is still trash compared to the similarly priced Tesla Model Y and the much cheaper Hyundai Ioniq 5. But as overpriced as the Solterra is, it doesn't come close to the next SUV. Number 2. Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Stellantis continues its domination of this list with yet another overpriced SUV. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer has a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $87,040. No wonder these trucks are spending 463 days on dealer lots. Of course, the Grand Wagoneer isn't all bad. It has a powerful 6.4-liter V8 delivering 471 ponies, mated to an 8-speed automatic. The chairs are spacious, and adults can fit in the third row. Tech is decent with optional passenger and rear seat touchscreens. You also get plenty of leather and wood trim to make you feel like you're in a German luxury vehicle. The only problem is that the German luxury SUVs were cheaper, fancier, and far more reliable. For 2026, Stellantis has brought the starting price down to $63,000. Now, it is priced in line with the Chevrolet Tahoe, Chevrolet Suburban, and the GMC Yukon. That's still a tough list of competitors. So tough, in fact, that by this time next year, the Grand Wagoneer might take the top spot on this list. That brings us to a vehicle that isn't just struggling against competitors, it's struggling to justify its own existence. Number 1. Volkswagen ID.4. With 480 days of market day supply, the Volkswagen ID.4 is the most unwanted new vehicle in America. That's disappointing for Volkswagen's first long-range EV for the US market. But with a starting price of $45,000, it never stood a chance. The Volkswagen modeled this after the Tiguan, so it is roomy, comfortable, and fun to drive. You also get a decent all-wheel drive range of 263 miles. This goes up to 291 miles for the rear-wheel drive. The interior is where things go pear-shaped. VW uses a lot of cheap plastic in the interior, and the infotainment system is a chore to use. You have to upgrade to the 12.9-inch center touchscreen if you plan on driving at night. The only real problem with the ID.4 is the competition. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 costs nearly $10,000 less, and the Model Y is almost $5,000 less. Unsurprisingly, VW has paused production of the ID.4 in the US. However, if they can't make it better or cheaper, they shouldn't bother bringing it back. That brings us to the end of the 17 vehicles American buyers are not buying in 2026. If you're thinking of snapping up one of these new cars dealers can't sell, our next video will show you how.